timer and everything.
Wow.
Okay. Are we on? Everyone can hear us. Hi, everyone. It's definitely a crowded room, which is great to see. I wasn't here yesterday, so I walked into the room outside, and I was like, wow, this city is sort of waking up. This is the panel without fear. And for me, to sit like a bit, should we say, a bit away from the other guys and actually be asking questions is very unusual for me. I've actually never done it before, so you need to bear with me a bit. Luckily, these three friends of mine, they are very good friends, so I can also, I can push them a bit. They're among the sharpest people you find in this town. They have the most experience, they have the sharpest tongues, and the best wit, especially the guy in the middle is laughing the most. So, since you have the most wit, Alex, I'm going to start with you.
Go ahead.
You told me about a year ago when we were meeting in your office and we were talking about some whatever issue we had. You said, I'm sitting here with a $45 million fund together with SoftBank. We launched it with a big shebang, and I can't spend the money. So how are you doing today? Have you spent the money?
Nope. It's been tough. I know you're going to ask this question, so I'm prepared.
You were just waiting for it.
I was waiting for it. I knew it was going to be the first question. It has been extremely tough to find sizable investment here in Indonesia.
But the room is full of companies.
But you guys come, what I see improving compared to the years before, the logos have improved. So you come to the office now with better logos, better, you know how to put on a show, but the size is still not there yet, right? The magnitude is not there yet. When we first put the fund together, we were hoping to invest 5 million, 6 million a pop, right? But now we had to scale that down. Even now our small investment is 150,000. But with a $45 million fund, imagine how many companies we've got to invest if each investment is only 200,000. So we need to find ways to ramp up the size of the companies that you deal with, so we can actually make the money to.
But are you
work
optimistic, or is it just like?
Well, I'm optimistic, but we just need to get to that optimism level faster by showing more proof.
More execution, guys. That's what it's
more
about.
More execution, faster.
Okay, we'll come back to you in a second. So, Patrick, you're awake over there? I was telling you and Alex before that both of you are actually a bit of legacy guys, right? I mean, Alex is this telco guy. He sees his revenue dwindling, and he needs to do something. Patrick has a lot of background in TV and broadcasting. It's a bit the same thing. Everyone knows it's going down, so you need to do something. And the question is then, I mean, if you look at MNC, you look at SCTV and the whole MTech group, they seem pretty eager to, move into the digital space, but they are like old, traditional, slow broadcast media guys. Can they actually pull it off?
This is on? Yeah. Well, I wouldn't exactly say the number of investments we've been doing that we've been slow these days. But in reality, if you look at telco versus media, at least on the media side, we do have the advertising reach. So we have the ability to put ads on TV, and we have the ability to promote. And as some of you have seen with Bloodbath, for example, there's been a fair bit of promotion. So if we can move quickly in terms of the investments, which have happened, and we can also bring to the table the media side, so the advertising side, the promotion side, it's actually a decent transition. There's a few companies globally that have, TV companies globally have done quite well, specifically in Germany and a few other places. But we bring to the table the advertising side and the ability to get the message out. So once a company achieves, as Alex was referring to, you need to get your traction. You need to get your business model ready. You need to be ready to grow on marketing and be able to scale. But once that happens, a media partner actually can be really good, as it can bring that reach from the TV audience and the TV advertising.
Fair enough. I'm going to come back to you on that one, because there's more to say. But Nabila, over to you. So, this country, if we look at Indonesia, everyone says, great potential. I think everyone agrees on that. Everyone says payments is a problem. I've been hearing it I've been here for 4 years. I've been hearing it since day one. I heard it latest time today. Everyone says payments is a problem. 20%, I think, or 18% of the population have bank accounts. Mm-hmm. Everyone says e-money is the future. We have been saying that for quite a while. Why is it not going anywhere?
Well, Magnus, I think payment is a problem for many, because getting access to payment facility has always been a challenge, especially for startups. But I must say that for the past several years that we've been in the payment space, we have made tremendous progress. We started with credit cards, and now we offer a variety of payment options, from internet banking to ATM payments. You know, for international companies like yourself, perhaps, internet ATM payment is something that is not common, but people here in Indonesia will go to the ATM to make payments. So we have to create a new way of accepting payment offline. You can pay online, but you pay offline. But in terms of responses, it will give you instant notification. And coming back to e-money, yes, I totally believe that e-money would be the driving factor behind onboarding and allowing more people to make payment. Because as you mentioned, bank accounts, how many do we have? We have like 50 million bank accounts, but those are not unique users. And for someone to open a bank account, I think now it has improved tremendously. In the past, it was very difficult. It was challenging for some to open a bank account. So with the potential of e-money, there is no hassle. You don't. It's easy registration. It's
less
just.
hassle, less
She's
hassle.
making a bit of a
Less-
commercial
less.
here.
Less
Oh,
hassle.
I'm trying to make it no hassle.
But if it's that fantastic, I'm still asking why people
Right.
don't use it. But if I ask Alex, if I ask you, I mean, you have a lot of experience in this field. I mean, Indosat, you have the product called
Dompetku.
Dompetku. You have, yeah, that's the key one, right? So Doku or Dompetku, who's going to actually, because there are 22 licenses in Indonesia today in the e-money space. And I spoke to a friend at the central bank, and he said, you know, there are these 22 guys out here, and no one is making any progress, and we don't know what to do. So what do we tell him?
So first of all, I don't think this is a space where winner takes all. So there can be room for a few payment products, mobile money products in the market. I do think that the central bank needs to ease off on some of the regulations. You know, it's not the product that's not there, but they're not making it easy for the money to go into the system. And I think they got to loosen up a bit if they want to see this a success. That's been the biggest pain point. How do you get more money into the system and the KYC? You know, we were talking about people. Some of the people that we're talking about haven't been exposed to any banking products, right? And just creating that additional barrier, I don't think it helps.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I would say the same as well, because KYC has been a barrier. But for those who are not familiar with what KYC is, basically, if you want to spend more, you want to have more than 5 million rupiah, more than 1 million rupiah in your wallet, you need to be verified. And the verifying process is very, very challenging for companies like ours. We are trying to overcome that barrier, but in our experience, what we're seeing is that a lot of people are using e-money more for micropayments. We have an average size of $10 to $15 of monthly average spending. So people are comfortable at that 1 million
Right.
space. But I think once they are comfortable with the instrument of payment, they would want to have more money. They would want to fund the e-money with greater value, so that they can buy things like iPhone. I mean, like if you can only put 5 million in your wallet, but I want to buy that iPhone, you know, and I don't have a credit card, and I don't have an internet banking, I can't make that purchase in one transaction.
I will
have to
challenge you a
top-
bit on if people
All right.
without a bank account and without a credit card is an
Okay.
iPhone buyer, but
Right.
that aside.
But can I just stipulate one
Of
thing?
course.
Right? So from the way we look at the numbers on mobile money, once they use it a lot. But onboarding people to start to use it, that's where the challenge is. But once they get exposed, they use it for all kinds of things. So we don't see the problem once they get
Okay,
in.
I mean, Alex, back to you. So your business, the telco business, first of all, I think everyone should remember that Alex is basically picking up the tab for all of us, because all of us are using his infrastructure to get our customers and to get our users, and we are not really giving you credit. The only thing I tell Alex is, where the hell is the 4G you promised? That's the only thing I keep telling you. So all of us need to have a certain level of respect. I mean, I mock him for saying that when I go between, you know, the bottom of Gatot Subroto to the other end, I need to switch SIM cards twice just to keep the reception. But that aside, if you look at your business and you look next 5, 10 years, I mean, SMS business, I don't think you're going to bet on that. Voice is what it is. Data, very hard to make money on. Are you going to make money in your payments business, or what's the plan?
So the way we look at it, the telco business will remain a telco business with small returns. It's an infrastructure business, so be it, right? We need to look at other spaces where we can make money. And for us, mobile money and all that is one of the areas we have a big interaction between our customer base and other services that we can do. Mobile money, mobile advertising, there's devices that is in the hands of our customers. We're trying to find that kind of additional relationship that we can build with them where it makes money and better returns. The telco business, yes, we're doing a good service. Say that it's CSR in some form, but to
Take one for the team, so to say.
Take one for the team, right? But we are launching 4G. It is going to be big between the large three operators in this November, but it will never be enough. You will ask for more. Handset penetration of smartphone is only less than 30%. So when that grows, there'll be more capacity that's required. So we just need to continue to build and build.
So we should basically get off your back about the quality for a while.
No, you need to push us further.
Okay,
I'm fine with that.
Fair enough. Patrick, so you told me before that you have been looking or overseeing, being involved in a number of different investments over the past year. You're even trying to make a point that your old legacy TV business over there is actually pretty responsive and quite fast to changes, which I give you credit for. It's true. You have been doing a lot over the past year. If you look at the investments that you have made, what is your biggest worry when you look at the companies that you have been involved in? There's been startup investments, there have been series, I think A and B as well, right? What is your concern when you look at your portfolio?
So one thing I should just clarify before we go too far. I have actually left MTech. So
Make some advertising now. What's next?
Yeah. So I'm working on my own project, looking in the automotive sector, doing something on my own this time. But so I'll speak.
I hear Alex has a bit of money he needs to spend, by the way.
Yeah. Come to
Buffett. I'm gonna hit him up. So I'll speak from that perspective, right? There's a lot of interesting activity. There's a lot of things that are going on. There's a lot of people with ideas. The one thing that I guess from working and making investments, one of the frustrations or one of the things you run into, and what I'd like to see a bit more from the startups is a little bit more research on one side, and this is coming into the negotiation, but then there's after. There's a little bit more research into what would be a standard. What are the investors inspecting in terms of pitch deck? So structure can be all over the place. That's okay, we can deal with that. But then what causes more pain is what are standard terms? So when you're doing the investment, there's a whole series of long words that you have to get to understand. This was actually something that was a problem in the US until maybe 10 years ago, or 12 years ago, when people started to write up, VCs started to write up, and you can find it all on the internet. Feldworks has done a great job. What are standard terms? What should you just expect? It can make your negotiations so easy because it's kind of written there, like you're going to have participating, you're going to have an anti-dilution, you're going to have these things, and if we can just kind of say, okay, this is the standard, let's just worry about price, that is one thing that will really help out your negotiation and putting that forward. The other thing that we're seeing is you have to, and this is something that is particularly relevant right now, is that valuations can be all over the place. You have to remember that this fundraising and this working with investor is a long-term relationship, a long-term partnership. There's a range of valuations. You've got to go through. If you're doing well, you're going to do a seed, you're going to do a Series A, you're going to do a Series B. Eventually, you're going to do a Series C. If you shoot for the moon, and I've heard some valuations that are really shooting for the moon, in say a seed or a Series A, if the market changes in 2 years and you're doing your Series B and you may wind up with a valuation that is close to what you did your Series A, life becomes very difficult. So in terms of what I have seen in terms of dealing with companies, dealing with startups, dealing with expectations, MTech does a very good job of trying to get the terms fair. You can research it to figure out what those terms would be, but when you spend 2 months going through a process with some startups trying to get the terms fair, it can eventually lead to stopping the process. And the other thing is just be aware that there's multiple stages to success. Don't don't shoot for the moon too high in the beginning, because you're going to have to live up to what you just signed up for, and that can hurt you a bit later.
But if we go after the VCs for a little while, I mean, we always treat them so nicely. I mean, I was meeting this guy the other day, and he told me that the first thing he closed it was Series A basically, and the first thing he told me that, or the first thing he said the VC guy told him was that, okay, now you need to raise again, so my valuation goes up, right? Does really the VCs, who are usually quite keen on putting in the seed or maybe the Series A, do you think they have the stamina it takes? Because I mean, the market where we are, in Indonesia, Southeast Asia, the one thing that I would say, it's a marathon. It's going to take a long time. We are in early days.
How long have you been at Lasada?
Well, since we founded it, so that would be 4 years. But now we're not talking about me. I'm in the other chair today, which is quite nice, actually. So it's a marathon. It's going to take a long time. Do you think the VCs have the stamina it takes to really, understand that this is going to take a long time? Or is it just, let's throw money at everything, you get 5 million valuation for a PowerPoint, or where are we?
Well, one of the things that they always say about picking your investors and picking your VCs is you have to pick correctly and you have to pick right. The reason why the VCs are asking for, now go out and raise money quickly at a higher valuation, because they themselves are actually trying to fundraise for their next fund. So they're saying, okay, we've just done this seed, call it seed. We've just put in, I don't know, 250K on 2 mil, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. And then now I need to go and raise my next fund so I can because I've just got a small fund. Now I need to go and get my bigger fund, which it's actually going to pay a higher expenses to me to run my operation off of, and so I can get that longevity. And this is where a good VC will actually worry more about your success, and as you do well, he will do well. But there are other VCs who maybe, I don't know if they're less experienced or they're just more concerned about raising that next fund, that will then try to force you to get a increase, so 3 to 4 times increase, so that they can book that in their register.
So is everything just fluff money, or is it like actual value?
It's a combination of both, right?
Of course, that's a safe answer. That's fine.
But
okay,
it's fluff money. It's fluff money in that, and fluff isn't the right word, but anyways,
we need to call it something.
We'll
get back to valuations in a second. So Nabila, one thing I wanted to ask you, back to the marathon question. If you meet a lot of, I know you meet a lot of entrepreneurs, you interview a lot of people, your company is growing. When you look at the stamina question, when you see the companies out here, many of them, I think, they have interesting ideas, many unproven. Still can be massive successes, can also flop.
Yeah.
Do you think that, should we say, the entrepreneurs that we're seeing in the market today really understand just how long time, how much work, the stamina it takes to build a successful business? Or is this all just, now everyone should be an entrepreneur in 2015 because the tech sector is just, booming?
Well, I must say that they need to understand that it will have to be a marathon. There are some...
Do they?
Maybe not. In my honest opinion, I don't think so, because...
I always say it's a good idea to be honest.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Because it takes such a tremendous commitment. You need to go through a very rough journey. You must not give up. We went through that journey, from nothing with just a dream, to present payment to the market to today where we are. But there are lots of ups and downs, and there is no shortcut. You may be presenting attractive ideas to the VCs. Once you get funding, I guess you need to make sure that you are able to follow through. But if you don't get funding, you should not give up. You should explore and then find a moment where you can then voice out your ideas. You need to be aware of what's happening. FinTech is such a wide word for you to embrace at this point in time, because it is the buzzword for today. Everybody wants to be in the space because it is so sexy. If you're in the FinTech space, you will have VCs coming to you. But you need to understand what it takes, and that is my message to you people out there. You need to understand that it is a long journey. It is a marathon.
Fair enough. Marathon we agree on, so we need to get into some running clothes. Alex, how long time is it reasonable for a company to be losing money until it starts to generate cash? Okay, you're going to answer it depends on the sector, all of that, blah, blah. Yeah, fair
But
enough. How long time?
From our point of view, when we look at things, 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years.
Then it has to be somewhat.
How many of the companies that we're seeing here today is going to break even in 2 to 3 years?
I hate to use the word depends on the business, but
But that's
that's what
that's
we
gonna be
look
the
at
next
the
question.
ones. We look at the ones that will be negative for 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
But then we'd be in our case we'd be willing to look at out of the moon kind of extreme ideas which may take longer. That's also fine, right? But in the cases where we invest, we would like to invest in people, right? People, and we know that not every investment is going to be a success. But what we hope is the people who fail this time, we still trust them to invest on later on. So we talk about this a lot, but I just want to change the tone a bit, that trust and kind of credibility is everything in this space, right? Because you may fail the first time, but you have to fail gracefully and truthfully, that it's failing for the right reason, and hence you still have a chance to be looked at a later stage. We've invested in ideas, or very young ideas, but we know that the people have done it before, are trustworthy to be invested on. So, time and all that's all good factors, but we invest in people because we know.
We've heard that before, but I still think it's very true.
But businesses will
change. I will
change.
not challenge you on it because I think it's very true.
2 or 3 years, situations will change. We got to believe that the person is.
So everyone needs to
agile
go out
enough.
and revise their business plans. 2 to 3 years, and that's it.
It's going to change. We know that. We buy into investment now for the next 3 years, and we do know in 2 or 3 years it's going to change anyway, right?
Fair enough. Okay, Patrick, next one to you. We have a saying at Lazada, which is that if we ever get invited to Mountain View, we have done something massively wrong. And what that means in practice is that we have spent a lot of money on Google and Facebook. Do you think, there is a massive amount of money that is being invested, poured into the sector in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia. Are actually founders, entrepreneurs spending money on the right things? Or are we just blowing it out on this annoying online advertising that nobody really wants to see? I personally hate the pre-rolls on YouTube. There's nothing that pisses me off more than pre-rolls on YouTube. Are entrepreneurs spending the money on the right things? Now he's going to laugh for a while before.
It depends.
Guys,
No, look, it's all about experimentation. So you have to try the online marketing channels. You have to try YouTube. You have to try Google. You have to try Facebook. You have to try local publishers. You have to try offline, right? Like you have to try events. You have to try reaching out to communities. You need to. People in Indonesia love a community event, right? But it's offline. The reality is that there is no yes or no answer, whether that's right or wrong. However, what you really need to do is to small budgets, try an event, measure the result, learn. If it worked well, put some more in. If it didn't work so well, try something else.
But let's make it a bit concrete then. Take a thing like offices. Do you think entrepreneurs, young companies should have nice offices? Everyone wants a nice office. I do too, but
What makes it easier to go and visit them?
Should
no, yeah. Look, I'm going down that path right now, and I don't want an office for several months. I much prefer working from home. But there's two sides to that. So one is, what does it take to manage the people and work with the people you're working with? Do you need to be together? If so, then you do need to find somewhere to work. But it doesn't need to be, and especially in this country, we have to pay so much for rent up front. I wouldn't advise going and do that until you're much more secure. But it's kind of an individual question. There are engineers who are used to working alone and just can work 12 hours just on their own, and they work better that way. There are marketing and sales activities where people need to be together. It's quite common here, actually, to go and visit a startup that's working out of a house. It's somebody's house, a room in a house. It's a house that's somebody's rented but is empty for a few months. Those types of situations are perfect, but it really comes, you don't want to spend them, really want to avoid putting as much of your capital into rent as you can when you don't have a lot. But at the same time, if you're doing something where your team needs to be together and you need to be talking to each other and working with each other, then you need to figure out how to make that happen. But as part of being a scrappy startup is figuring out how to do that on the cheap. And one of the things that we like to see is companies have accomplished a lot and have had really good financial control.
IKEA is a very good idea. IKEA is Swedish, same as me. So, Alex, we're going back to you. You're a pretty rich guy, right? Yeah, Alex is pretty rich.
He's got IKEA in his house.
He's saving. That's smart. No, so like this. I mean, if we skip, the $45 million fund, your own money, what would you be putting that into?
Well, obviously at the moment
It's
I
your
can't
kids'
invest,
college
right?
tuition we're talking about now.
In Indonesia today, anything to do with logistics and payment. Those are two areas that I'll put my money first in. Very clear.
Are there enough companies to invest into in that?
At the moment, no.
Okay, new idea. Yeah,
That's the biggest pain point here in Indonesia today.
But we have been saying that. Like that's why I stopped. We have been saying that for so long time. It's a problem. Why is no one fixing it?
People are trying. There's
Who's trying? I don't see anyone.
Well, in the last investment, Indosat has ID Box, right?
Yeah.
And then there's at least 30% of those who came in are around payment and a little bit less on logistics. But those are the areas that we are seriously looking at today. In this, it's the third batch now. We are looking at payments and logistics as the main theme. But it's part of what came in anyway, right? So, anything to, we think if those companies are successful, the whole ecosystem will grow faster.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I'm not going to push back on it, but I think it's, we need
It's
to
painful,
pick,
but yeah.
it's true.
It's got to start somewhere.
Exactly, stamina again. Nabila, if you look at your fintech space, and we talk a bit on valuations in that space, what do you think of those? I mean, there is a fintech stage upstairs, right? Or outside.
Yeah. Well, valuation is a bit tough, I guess. How do you put value to a business? Because
That doesn't make any money.
exactly. So what would be the credentials that you would be using, especially in the payment space? For us, is there's a lot of investment into it. It's an investment into technology. But how would you value that kind of company or that kind of service? So again, I mean, I have no way of assessing that. Again, it's up to the market or the VC to
Yeah, but the
to
thing is,
view
the good thing with you is that you are, you actually work, right? I mean, like you are in an operating role, which means that you actually know the company. So if you put yourself, I mean, I know also that you're looking at acquisitions. There's, potential consolidation going in the payment space.
Yeah.
How would you actually put value to a company in this area?
Well, for payment for us, it's all about infrastructure as well. How many people are we able to reach in order to facilitate payment, and beyond the user is also the merchant. Again, that whole ecosystem is between merchants and the consumer. In our space, we look at how much payment volumes are we processing, how many people are using that ecosystem. So those are numbers that are important to put value to a company, basically. Investing into infrastructure for us would mean how we engage with the traditional payment infrastructure, for example, the banks. It must be mentioned that in Indonesia, payment is so fragmented, as you were saying just now. Why is it so slow?
No one is winning. I think something is wrong.
I think we are there. We are.
There
on
are
our
22
way
companies
there.
and no one manages to get any customers.
Well, when was the e-money license published? It was like 2 years back.
There is
we're
always some
still
problem
working
somewhere.
on ways of engaging with the customers. And then we have to deal with a manual system. I must say this.
Yeah,
it is a manual system, and we are
but
supposed to
you know what I always
digitalize.
say? If you want it easy, go back to Singapore. There
Nah,
it's easy to
I'm
do business.
staying here. This is where I need to be, and this is where we need to make the difference.
Fair enough. Patrick, I want to ask you something. So last year was a bit the year of the unicorns, right? This graph of unicorns exploded. I mean, there was just more and more logos, and everyone was talking about bubbles, blah, 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 right? This year, I think it's a slightly different thing. You're starting to see layoffs in startups. I saw this morning, Hotel Tonight laying off 20% of their staff, couple of shutdowns in Silicon Valley, which we haven't seen before, consolidations, actual buyouts. What's going on?
Look, when you raise on $1 billion valuation,
And this is not only unicorns, by the way.
yeah, but when you raise on let's go unicorns because it's the one that everybody's aware of. When you raise on $1 billion valuation, your multiple on revenue is probably more than 100, meaning that your business is this big and you've raised for a company this big. You'd have to grow into that very quickly. So you have to execute flawlessly and you have to grow your revenue and grow your business into that very quickly. Because if you run out of money and then you go to raise again, the punitive things that are built into those deals are just going to dilute the existing shareholders. It's going to, you're not going to, valuation might be a slight raise. It just looks really bad. So the higher you shoot for in terms of raising for that valuation. So $1 billion, this fab, there's 2 or 3 I think now that are in trouble in that billion, the unicorn range. So you raise that money, you better execute and you better hit it. Otherwise, we're pretty much going to have to shut up shop.
Alex, if you take the same question and you look at Indonesia this year, next year, year after maybe, what are we going to see? Is there a bloodbath coming our way, or is it like, are we only in the beginning of a fantastic 2-year ride?
I think we're in the beginning of a good ride, right? I don't think the bloodbath is going to come until 2 or 3 years. So we're just about to, you know, the guys, the ones that we're still seeing today, too small, I think it'll get to scale. We do need a lot of mentors. So those who have done something successful, be mentors, right? I mean, when we talk to companies, you just, you know, someone's clapping. We do need mentors. It's really needed badly here. The younger companies do need assistance to show them the way of what good looks like, and we don't have enough people. But also for the startups, you have to open yourselves that mentors are not doing it for love, right? They also want some potential upside. So you need some structure to allow them to contribute, but also enjoy the upside. But without them, I think it's going to be very tough. But having said that, assuming that all that is sorted out, we are in the beginning of money's there, ideas are there, smartphones are growing. You know, the Alibaba JD thing, what was the day yesterday? That Singles Day trading in
yeah.
70% trade was on smartphones. That's a change from the previous year. So, you know, with more devices coming to play, a lot more things can be done. So we are in this process. We need more success stories.
Yeah, I would agree with everything, but I would just say that there are 2 other factors, 2 other things. One is that you got to keep in mind there is a macro, so there's a global economy, and there's nothing can be done about that. But whether there's a bloodbath or whatever you want to call it in 3 years, probably has more to do with that than anything else. But assuming, as it has been for the last 10 years, that everything continues and makes its way, which it should, then I think that you may see a correction. So to use some of the terminology, like the froth comes off. But I think you got to keep in mind that the market is going to grow. The market is going to get bigger. But you cannot inject adrenaline and just cut 5 years out of the process. The mentors need to be there. The angels need to be there. A lot of the payment needs to be there. Logistics needs to be there. A lot of these, 4G needs to be there. But a lot of these things need to come, and you cannot, by throwing money, just jump over those. So there needs to be a bit of patience, figuring things out, getting things right. If you stick with it, you'll make it. But money alone cannot overcome all of that.
Agree.
So there needs to be there probably will be a bit of a correction on the froth. So the over-excitement, the over-valuation, the excess money. But there is an industry here. It will happen. It's just a question of it needs to go at its own pace.
Fair enough. So, Nabila, if we go back to you, I guess you've been spending a bit of time on the fintech stage, and we need to talk a bit about what's next, right? I mean, Alex's answer is too boring, quite frankly. Payments and logistics, that doesn't stack up. When you walk around out here, what do you see as the thing we will be talking about next year?
Next year?
Or the year ahead, whatever we call it.
Well, I guess on-demand service is something that is interesting.
Yeah, but that's pretty old, no?
Is that all? I thought here.
I mean, everyone
like
who's
it's,
not doing on demand.
well, I thought it's like rather new for Indonesia.
Okay, which space?
Well, transportation.
Yeah, no, that's
Well,
failed.
it's part
That's
of
a failed
logistics.
answer.
I mean,
That's
you
a
need to
failed answer.
support.
Okay,
You
lost.
need to support
Alex,
logistics.
next year, what's the
anyway.
big thing?
Yeah, because bloody hell, man.
Come on-demand services, logistics. That's like no.
Because 4G is coming. I think there's a lot of play.
Is it coming? Tell us what's happening. You told me before.
Well, there's at least 30 cities end of this year will be covered by 4G.
4G for you guys for free. That's a round of applause for Alex.
Yay.
But that also means apps that is heavy on videos will be much more possible, right? So there is an opportunity for those who don't see the current environment possible to develop things around video. It'll be much more doable next year onwards. So I think anything to do with video is a strong possibility next year, just
Fair
because
enough.
the infrastructure is there.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I'm gonna hold you. I'm
Counting
gonna
on
hold
you.
you to it.
Yeah.
Patrick.
Yeah, remember I said that today?
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
counting
okay.
on
So
you.
you're investing into video content startups. Anyone doing video content in here? Okay, there. Investment. He's got money, 45 million, doesn't know what to do with it. So you guys should connect. He likes to drink whiskey as well, if you want to know. Patrick, you get the chance as well. Next year, what's the big thing?
I lost trust in my crystal ball many years ago.
Well, that's also fair
I
enough.
would be raising a VC fund if I knew. Look, I've been here for 2.5 years, been in the region for 8. The thing is that there are things around here that just don't work as well as we'd like. Daily frustrations. I'm not going to answer the question in terms of you need to be in this sector, you need to be in this sector, but what I want to say is there is value in looking at what's being done in the US and China and Japan and trying to bring that here. But really, if you really want to do something innovative, if you really want to do something imaginative and that's going to be adopted, what is in your daily life, your weekly life, what are the things that is just really annoying? How do you get around it? I mean, Gojek has come in, there's a transportation problem, there's a logistics problem. They've looked at something that's just, it's frustrating to get around those. How can they make that easier? You don't have an OJEC in the US, that's for sure, right? So it's kind of looking at what is it that's just not working and how do I get around it? Right? Logistics and payment, there's government regulations. So if we take a traditional approach from the West and try to put that in, you're going to run into those government regulations which just not mature, that's all. There's nothing, if you went 50 years ago in the US and tried to do this, you'd run into problematic government regulations as well, but they've had 50 years to learn. So how do you, in that existing environment that you have here, how do you find the problems that you're having, and how do you develop solutions that work here? That is where the people who do that and who find a good vein like did at Gojek, you're going to be the ones that we're going to be talking about next year.
I would actually like to follow up on that one because I think many startups that I've seen, Lazada included for that matter, so I'm not going to defend myself, but when it comes to being in one market versus being in multiple markets, because I mean the first thing I hear about every single startup is like, okay, we are now live in Indonesia, the next thing we're going to do Malaysia or Philippines or Hong Kong or Taiwan. Personally, I think that's crazy. What's the approach? How are you going to play it? You're launching a startup. One market, many markets. You get to answer it too.
Well, I've launched in many markets before, so I actually have, my situation is a bit different because I've launched in Singapore, I've launched in Indonesia, Malaysia, independently, so I kind of have this
but
experience.
okay,
But if I'm speaking to the people here, which is what you're really asking, you cannot, there's enough challenges in launching in a single market that it's going to take all of your time. If you then have to figure out how to do it in another market at the same time or before you've really got your processes and really got your business operating in that first market you launched in, that's half your time split. There's another competitor or 2 or 3 who are just looking at one market, and that's when you've shown a weakness and they will be able to attack that weakness. So get one market working properly and really working properly, and then you can look at the other markets. I mean, if I look at it from a finance perspective, if you wind up getting really big here, you don't necessarily need to go and enter the other market. You can buy the guy in the other market. So there are lots of ways of doing it. You don't need to launch in multiple markets at the same time or shortly after the other. If you get into one market, and especially in Indonesia, which is the biggest market, and you hit success and you do it very well, there are lots of ways to get into other markets. If I look at Property Guru, they launched in Singapore very strong, and they expanded by acquisition. They didn't have to go in and launch Malaysia, I think they launched a greenfield, but they didn't have to go in to a given market and expand organically. So get your product and get your business working properly and get it be successful in one market such that you feel comfortable, and this is where mentors come in as well, to then dedicate 90% of your time, or even 110% of the time, because that's what it's going to take to get that second market to work. And unless you know what you're doing on the engineering side, expanding across multiple markets with different currencies, different payment systems, different language requirements, it's a lot to take on as a team. So get really strong in one market, and then when you feel your leadership team can dedicate 80% of their time to another market, that's when you should look at the second market.
Fair enough. Nabila, since you are the wisest one of all four of us,
Oh, really?
the
Thank you.
most sensible person at least. One thing that I think we never talk about, which I would like to spend a couple of minutes on, is leadership. And when you look at entrepreneurs and the ones that you're seeing, they're pretty quickly going to be running relatively big teams. I mean, many people never get a chance to like lead, 10, 20, 30, 50 people.
Right.
Do entrepreneurs, I mean, how do you get your head around this? How do you become like, is leadership important first of all, or it doesn't matter?
I think leadership is key because you need to have as a leader, you will have to set the pace for your team. You need to set your goals, you need to set your direction and vision.
And the people you see in the tech space, are they good leaders?
They are fairly, because everybody has got dreams, and I think in the tech space, the opportunity is to actually explore your ideas. But then you need to really, really manage your ideas. And in order for you to be a good entrepreneur and good leader, you need to be able to communicate your ideas clearly. And once you communicate your ideas clearly, then you can share your vision, and then you can mentor your team. I think mentoring within a company is so important. Without leadership, there is no direction.
Fair enough. I also made one promise to Alex, and that was that he was going to get to ask me one question. So I will give you one chance to take a shot back now, since I've been having 45 minutes to myself.
No, okay. I want to ask you the questions they've been asking us back. What do you think is going to happen in Indonesia next year and the year after?
No, I would answer it like this: that my fundamental.
Be honest.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna be straight. If you just stay quiet, I'm gonna actually no.
And it depends.
The thing is this, that our PR department is always absolutely terrified whenever I get to speak to anyone. So I know I have certain restrictions I need to stick to. Like this, my optimism for Indonesia is absolute. I think Indonesia represents the absolutely single largest opportunity in the world today.
Okay.
However, the word opportunity, that means that there is an opportunity for people who actually take it and for people who have what it takes.
Right.
And I can tell you, I meet entrepreneurs every week because I try to mentor. I'm not doing enough. I will do more. I try to. If I'm a good mentor or not, that's a different question. But that's besides the point. But to really realize that Indonesia is, I would say, at its very dawn when it comes to, it's morning in Indonesia. It's morning in Indonesia. We have 3, 4, 5 fantastically exciting years ahead of us. But people who come to this market, come to this country and say, I'm going to be here for a 1-2 year adventure, and then I'm out, and then I'm done, and I've pumped up valuation, I'm out of here. You're going to massively fail. You're going to absolutely massively fail. This is a marathon. It's going to take a long, long time for people to have the stamina, for people who know that you need to localize, you need to understand your market, you need to understand your customers. Stop looking so much at data. Forget about this big data bullshit. Honestly, it's like the most overestimated thing I think ever. Speak to your customers. our company, we are fantastic with data. We have more, I don't know, I mean, like, all this data, if I sit down 10 minutes with customers, 10 minutes with sellers, I learn more than I do, I don't know, a month of studying spreadsheets. Never, never, ever forget about that. But to answer your question, I'm very, very optimistic.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, we have 10 seconds left, so we're going to wrap up. I must say, it was a pleasure to be here today. Thank you very much to the panelists who I finally got to interview. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I think from all of us, best of luck to each and every one of you. And just as a final piece of advice, you know, don't let the investors scare you. They need you more than you need them. Never forget about that. I know there are a lot of investors in here. But anyway, speak your mind, be yourself, love what you do. That's the way we do it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Very much. And we have another round of applause for the Fearless Four.